I'm here with Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Alexander, it looks like we have the new NSA guy, National Security Advisor, to succeed Mr. John Bolton, the famous neocon lunatic. And it looks like we have a man who goes by the name of Robert C. O'Brien. I don't want to say he's a nobody, but amongst, the list of Washington insiders and, power players, he's definitely not one of them. He did, and he does hold a very prominent position in the State Department. I would say, we were messaging before we did this video, and I would call him something like neocon Lite, maybe like a light version of one of these crazy neocons. But, outside of some, TV interviews and a book that he wrote, we don't really have that much to go on with this guy. So, Alexander, what are your thoughts on Robert C. O'Brien as the new NSA?
I think you put your finger on it. I mean, everything that we know about him suggests that he's a person with, dare I say, very conventional neocon views. Very much the sort of person who takes the accepted view on every subject, on Russia, on China, on the Middle East. He's certainly not somebody you go to for original thinking on any of these subjects. So from that point of view, appointing someone like that is not going to alarm the blog, the big neocon establishment who've been, always trying to push Trump into wars, and at the same time have been causing him so much trouble with Russiagate and all the rest. Against that, he's a complete lightweight. He may be a very, hardworking and clever man, but he is not a person of the kind of stature of Donald Trump's previous national security advisors. I mean, General Flynn, his first one, had been the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, a very well-known, very important intelligence officer, one with a well-established record in conflict zones like Afghanistan and Iraq. The other one, General H.R. McMaster, was a political ally of Senator John McCain, a very hard-line general, but somebody with a reputation as a very effective military leader, perhaps an exaggerated reputation, but nonetheless that sort of a reputation. And also, of course, someone who I think quite wrongly, by the way, was seen as some sort of military intellectual. But anyway, he was widely respected and fairly well known. And of course, John Bolton was extremely well known, as you rightly describe him. He was, in my opinion, also a neocon lunatic, but somebody who, let's face it, we've all known about and has lots of ideas about many things. The person who Trump has gone for is a lightweight, not a manager, notice, not an administrator, not somebody who's run intelligence agencies or commanded troops in battle or administered vast bureaucracies. He is a negotiator, somebody who negotiates hostage releases, somebody that Trump can easily dominate and who is unlikely to cause Donald Trump trouble. And I think that's the person that Donald Trump was looking for and searching for, so that finally Donald Trump can do the kind of foreign policy he wants to do without having a difficult national security advisor who tries to control him and only causes him trouble.
I was just about to say the same thing. That was going to be my question to you. Are we seeing Trump enter a phase where the next year of his first term and his most likely second term, we'll see how the elections play out, but if he gets a second term, are we looking at a Trump who has a very clear control of U.S. foreign policy without any interruptions or any people trying to sabotage, his goals and his negotiating tactics and what he wants to do? I mean, it seems like that's what we're seeing now is Trump saying, you know what, I'll put guys in these positions who I can easily, give orders to, easily administer, and I'm not going to get any pushback or any sabotage in the case of Bolton.
I think that's exactly right. And I'm going to say something else. It's very interesting to see the reaction to this appointment. I mean, if he tried to appoint someone like O'Brien as National Security Advisor in a year ago or in 2017, there would have been an outcry. People would have said, Trump is putting a stooge in charge of the National Security Council, and we must do everything we can to obstruct and stop this because we can't trust Donald Trump to run his own foreign policy. Now he's able to do this. He's able to appoint O'Brien, a person like O'Brien, to this important post, and there's barely a squeak about it at all. So slowly, steadily, Trump is finally getting control of the foreign policy bureaucracy. It's taken him a very long time to get to that point, but finally he's grown up and no longer has to be surrounded by these very, very dangerous people like Bolton, McMaster, and dare I say it, Flynn also. He's finally getting to the point where he's master of his own foreign policy house.
But Alexander, finally, to wrap up this video, okay, he's going to have pretty strong control of his foreign policy. But who do you think is going to be, or who do you think the people are going to be that will emerge as his top group of advisors going forward? Because no matter how much control he does have, he is going to need some sort of group of people who will be advising him on foreign policy issues, whether that be Iran, China, Russia, North Korea. Who do you think those people are going to be as he moves forward towards the end of the first term and most likely into a second term?
That remains to be seen, but I'm going to make a very, very wild guess, which is that ultimately and eventually, especially if he wins re-election in 2020, given that Donald Trump gives every indication of wanting to draw the United States back from all these overextended commitments that it has around the world so that it can concentrate on its own industrial and economic development, whilst at the same time taking a very tough line against countries that he sees as competitors, which include first and foremost China, but also, dare I say, Germany. I think the person in the United States who is perhaps closest to him in this kind of thinking is perhaps Rand Paul. And he has spoken to Rand Paul about foreign policy. So maybe we will start to see Rand Paul after the election starting to emerge, not, I think, with any position within the administration, but as somebody who Donald Trump perhaps begins to listen to and get his opinions from. That, I mean, that's perhaps a wild guess on my part, but I've been following Donald Trump very, very closely. And my clear view about him is he doesn't like wars and he doesn't like overextended commitments. And he really wants, I think, to see this page of the US intervening everywhere and meddling in everything. I think he really does generally want to see it end.
Well, I think his base, I know we want to see it end. I think a large part of his base wants to see it end, if not all of his base. So it seems like, even though O'Brien is a neocon Lite.
Yes.
In my opinion, this is kind of, I don't want to say a welcome move, but okay, it's acceptable.
Yeah, it's a half step in the right direction, a half step. I mean, as I said, it enables Donald Trump to assert his control of the foreign policy bureaucracy, which, let's be absolutely frank, he hasn't been able to control up to now. He's had people like Bolton and indeed McMaster before him paying no attention to the instructions he gives. I mean, they just ignore what the President of the United States says. I mean, the most grotesque example for me is that Donald Trump a year ago was talking about pulling all US troops from Syria. And what happened? He gave an order to that effect, and John Bolton just increased them. I mean, that's an extraordinary state of affairs. And I think, as I said, Donald Trump wants to see an end to all of that. And I think he's starting to put people into positions where they can't challenge him in the way that Bolton did and thwart his intentions in the way that Bolton and McMaster before him did. Whether or not O'Brien is the person to take things further forward, that's an entirely different thing. But I think for Trump to actually start putting more ambitious people in, more important people in, closer to his own thinking, he has to get the election out of the way first. So I think this is, a half step in the right direction, and perhaps a fairly well judged one. Anyway, that's my take. I'm sure there'll be lots of people who have their own views, and we'll see what people say on the threads.
All right. Alexander Mercouris, Editor-in-Chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Guys, if you like this video, click on the subscribe button down below. Click on the notifications bell to make sure you get notifications every time we push out a new video. And you can get an audio copy of this video. The link for SoundCloud and iTunes is in the description box down below. And also you will find links to PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribestar. Please donate to the Duran. It really helps out a lot. You will find a link to those platforms in the description box as well. And of course, you will also find in the description box links to the Duran shop where you can pick up magic mugs, which make you 10, 20, 30 points more intelligent when it comes to your geopolitical understanding of the world. And you will be able to find our polo shirts, V-neck t-shirts with the double-headed eagle looking east and west.
Exactly, like the one you can see on both our shirts at the moment. Both Alex and I, of course, wear Duran shirts, and you can see our double-headed eagle there pointing to the east and the west. And what great shirts these are! 100% cotton, beautifully cut, marvelously dyed, phenomenally comfortable, amazingly stylish. My wife loves to see me in them. I love to wear them. All of our shirts, all of the shirts that I have. And Alex, by the way, I should add, has been refreshing and getting all sorts of great shirts and other products on our shop also. And as I've said on a few occasions before on our programs, I've always been quite a sort of shall we say, a dapper dresser, if I say so myself, buying from good shops, well-known bespoke tailors in London and shirt makers in London. So when I say that these are really high-quality stuff, I know what I'm talking about, and so do our customers. We've had great feedback from all of them about our shirts, about our mugs. The best praise of all is imitation. And we've noticed that some of our competitors are now producing products that are extremely bad copies, very bad copies of our products also. If you go to our shop, you get the real thing. You also get things apart from shirts and apart from mugs. You get stickers, you get hats, you get hoodies, you get all sorts of great things. You also get books that we've written on Russiagate and Brexit. So what are you waiting for? Go to our shop, help the Duran, help yourself by owning these great things. Alex will tell you how.
You will find a link to the Duran shop in the description box down below. Alexander Mercouris, Editor-in-Chief of the Duran, thank you very much. Until next time, everybody, take care.